Real quickly, we'll dive into it because I want to let you have more time with questions and answers, because the first session I realized you didn't have a chance to ask a lot. So right now you guys are going to drink from a fire hose. I'm just going to ram it on through, go as quickly as I can, and then we'll come back and highlight some of the things that we missed. All right? First off, I'm Bill McEwan from Amiga, and we bought Amiga from Gateway in '99 with the sole purpose of following through with what we started in 1997. There was a group of us in '97 that came on board with Amiga with the idea of creating a brand new Amiga that would scale from handheld devices all the way up to multiprocessor servers. And for a multitude of reasons, which I'm looking back now very pleased occurred, we ended up in the ability to purchase it. We did. We paid a lot of money for it, but we have a future now that will allow us all to prosper. Amiga is a profit-based company. I want to make that clear. We are in business. We are here to make money. And in so doing, we want to create an atmosphere and environment for dealers to make money, for users to be happy, for developers to make money. And for those of you that love tinkering as developers, because you haven't had a chance to make money doing it, we want to create an environment where you can do it for the rest of your life. Just enjoy what you do and make money while doing it. This is, just real clear, this is not my hobby. Okay? This is something I love doing, but it is a profit business. So what are we going to do? Make money, all right? So know that up front. In order to make all this happen, those of you know I didn't have my first Amiga until 1998. So I don't have a history with the product. I don't have the room. Do you guys see all right? Whoa, what happened over there? Our fuzzy. So anyway, with all that said, what we want to do is create an environment, an atmosphere, and a place where people will enjoy using our products. We want to be able to create devices where the word computer is no longer a part of the vernacular, where it is a product that people enjoy. I mean, it's part of their life because they want it to be. Now, many of you have already found that out years ago. We've had Amigas, you enjoy Amigas, you want to know what we're going to do next. Well, we've been 10 months at it. We've got we shipped a Linux SDK. We have an upgrade to the Linux SDK out on the 24th and a Windows version of the SDK out on the 24th. Interestingly enough, Windows, we easily had 10-to-1 requests for Windows SDKs over Linux. In the first part of next year, you'll also see an Amiga native SDK. So you'll now be on 3 different platforms you can develop. The most important thing about the new Amiga is that this operating system, if you look back, the Amiga OS today is a 68K system, right? 68,000 chip system. In order to port that to PowerPC, it'll take 6 months. That is only emulating 68,000 on a PowerPC chip. That is not a port to native. I want to make sure people understand that. To do a true port to native, it's an additional 12 to 18 months, and that's without testing. All right? So knowing that would only get what we have today on PowerPC. That doesn't really give us a strong opportunity to go out and strike partnerships and deals to grow Amiga as a company, as an opportunity. When you go out and buy, or actually you, when others go out and buy a Compaq or a Dell or a Gateway or a Micron or an HP or something else, what kind of computer are they buying? I mean, in reality, what are you buying?
Windows.
You're buying a Microsoft machine. For all intents and purposes, you're not buying Compaq, you're not buying Dell, you're not buying any of those products, you're buying Microsoft. Now, they market it the other way, you know, it's Compaq, da-da-da, and it's a Dell. Yeah. When you put them side by side, it's price performance, but you're really getting Microsoft. All right? I bring that to mind because what we're doing at Amiga is very similar. When you go out and buy a computer from multiple vendors, guess what? You're really going to be buying Amiga computers. Now, we will also have our own private line, but they're built by third parties. They'll have our name on them as the prominent one. But in the very near future, you're going to see products from other people with the Boing Ball on it. Now, they'll be the first name you see, but in all honesty, you're buying an Amiga. Why? They've already proven that works. You can get a lot of units, get a lot of mass, get a lot of market adoption using that model. So we're just going to copy it. There's enough people out there that are interested in making that happen. The new Amiga OS, in order to win, has to be scalable on multiple platforms. Right now, today, the new AmigaDE, we refer to as the digital environment, runs on PowerPC, x86, StrongArm, ARM, Motorola M-Core. It operates on Hitachi SH3, 4, and 5, RISC M3000, 4000, 5000, and 3 other chips I can't mention right now. That's all with no change to the binary source of an application. Whatever you create on Amiga will run anywhere AmigaDE is present. So from a developer's perspective, for the first time, you can truly create an application once, and it will run without change anywhere else. As an example of that, we have this fine disk that engineering gave to me. You can tell engineering are strong marketing people. It's marked floppy demo. They do that purely for my sake. So we've plopped the floppy on Windows here. Now the thing to note is, AmigaDE is a full-fledged operating system. We can run native on multiple different hardware platforms, as I've mentioned. Okay? For the purposes of these demonstrations, the new Amiga has another inherent quality that other applications, other operating systems do not, and that is we can also run as a real-time operating system on other operating systems. You guys catch that? So, for folks out there that maybe want to have photogenics on Windows, right, you can have it with our system. And Paul didn't have to do anything to run it in our system. If you want photogenics on Linux, guess what? You've got it. If you happen to want it on Windows CE, I don't know why you would, but if you did, you've got it. All right? So, we take that flop, we pop it into Windows, we launch this little bat file. Yeah. Just because they don't dare have me actually use the keyboard. We're loading the operating system now, and we're loading an application. So the entire OS and application, full binary, this little game. This is all on that floppy disk. All right, that's on Windows. Take the exact same floppy disk, go to the Linux machine. Sorry for whoever's microphone I just walked over here. Click on floppy. Opens up the floppy drive. Click on Linux. The only piece that changes in this scenario is the bottom layer of the code. That's what allows it to operate in different systems. It's now loading from the floppy. Same application, same source code, no change for the developer. Now, if we happen to have had here in our presence this new handheld we've got at the office, we could take the same binary and move it over to the handheld and see the exact same thing. You see, we believe that the future holds something very unique for Amiga. When others in the world thought that having a machine that didn't have great horsepower and, wow, 270 megabyte hard drives, the world looked at that and said, oh, look, that machine's so slow and backwards. What they didn't understand is you guys took that as a challenge, wrote fantastic applications, wrote great products, all in very small footprint and space. Everyone else is building things that are in gigabyte size. You guys are doing stuff in tens of megabytes. Well, guess what? That's the skill set that's necessary to win as we move forward. See, Amiga believes that a long time ago, well, first of all, you guys have all heard the term content, right? We all say content, content. What is content to you guys?
TV show.
TV show. Most people look at it as TVs, movies, etc. Content to us is anything binary. I don't care if it's a Word document, I don't care if it's a picture, I don't care if it's a record, if it's music. Record doesn't turn much more. If it's music, I don't care. It's anything that you can digitally consume, digitally create. That's content to us. And it used to be that content was device specific. If you wanted to listen to music, you listened to it on a radio, or a tape player, a CD player, right? If you wanted to watch movies, well, you went to a theater, or you went to a video, or you watched it on your television. Now we have is it's blurring a bit. Now on a PC, I can listen to music, and I can watch a DVD. From a handheld, I can do some things. But we believe at Amiga is that very soon you should be able to access any content of any type from any device that's Amiga enabled. That means handhelds are able to play music, watch videos, do whatever you want at a handheld level. Now there are ways to get there, but in order to do that, you need an operating system that will allow you to run on multiple different systems. And in this case, some folks are already using operating systems on these devices, and we can thereby enhance their offering. Those of you who were at the earlier session, you can't answer. Who can tell me how many Game Boys have been sold since launch to June of this year? Nintendo Game Boy.
100 million.
Anyway, take a stab.
100
Raise your
million.
hand. How many? 10 million. Okay, higher. Anybody else?
100 million.
You already know. 100 million.
I wasn't here in the first one.
You weren't here this first time. All right. All right.
He's just wearing the same shirt.
100 million Game Boys have been sold. That's a lot of crappy little boxes. You know, and you travel, I mean, you're on an airplane, everyone's got a Game Boy. How many times can you play Tetris? But I mean, apparently a lot. The fact of the matter is, all these other handheld providers, folks like Scion, Sharp, Palm, Visor, all these numerous other people, they're looking at the fact that, wow, you know, they sold 1 million. And they look over at Game Boy going, ooh, 100 million. What if we could have better multimedia content on our handheld? Is it a possibility we could get a few extra million units of our device? With Amiga, we can't. We can deliver that content to them. It's hard to see over here, and I apologize. So what we have in this instance is we are running for the purposes of the demonstration on 2 different operating systems. As I said, Amiga can also run native. But in a desktop environment right now, we really don't have the driver support needed. And in a handheld situation, we have better support for that. So, is there any way I can possibly be more in the way? All right. Same binary, both sets. All right. For fun, some of the things in the new Amiga is over here. We now have OpenGL. So here's a little demonstration. Everything written in native code. Here it comes. You've got OpenGL 3D now. Everything you're seeing here is running without any hardware acceleration. Everything's being done in software, and our footprint size is approximately 3.7 megabytes for everything you're seeing. Is that for me? Okay. We also now have MPEG players.
Oh, legend.
So I got this clip, I didn't realize he's getting nailed 3 times. So you got nailed once, you go around the corner, boom, he's nailed again. And then what's nice is security guards don't do anything until number 3. And they grab him. Oh yeah, they weren't happy about that. Was that you, Bill? I would have thought by the first time you would have figured out I should duck or something. That was Mr. Gates, indeed. Those of you that like other full products, how many of you guys like photogenics? You like photogenics? Okay. Here's a native port of photogenics. I'm going to kill the Linux box right now. This is native in VP, virtual processor code. So that now this can go anywhere that Amiga can live. Now this is in alpha state, so I don't want to anybody saying it's done. But Paul did this in 3 weeks. And I have no idea how to use the tools, so forgive me. That was wrong. Oh, there it goes. Whee! Go blind.
Same fate the penguin.
Yes. No, my roots just need touching. Anyway, you get the idea. Paul did this in 3 weeks. And again, what he's finding out is he now has a Windows version if he wishes. He also now has a Linux version if he wishes of the same application. So what we're doing at Amiga is, and tonight, those of you that aren't planning on being at the dinner, I would encourage you, because that's where I'm going to make the announcements. I'm not doing them here. But tonight we're going to make several announcements about what we're doing, what's going on, and some other business issues. But more importantly, I want to make sure you understand that the AmigaDE is an operating system, fully fledged, runs on multiple different kinds of hardware because of something we did that I look back now and think was probably very smart. Of course I'd say that, it was mine. Instead of trying to port the existing operating system, which would have taken years and a lot longer, we actually went to an Amiga named Chris Hensley. Chris is the guy who did Verminator. You guys might remember that game. He also did about 3 other games for Amiga. And what happened was Chris was asked to write this game he did for Amiga. It went well. Then they said, great, now port it to Atari ST.
He shut it.
Okay, so they did it for Atari. Then they said, great, now take it to the PC. Okay, a year later, when he would have liked to have done another version, he's still porting code. So in his frustration, he began to think about a way to write an Amiga gaming operating system that would be binary compatible cross-platform. So he would only have to write a game once, and then that game would run on multiple platforms. That's what this is. DAO OS is the Amiga gaming OS he created. So what we've done is we've taken that in a license with them, and if you look at it, I'll bring it up tonight. I've got a picture of how the OS works. But what you basically have are 2 critical pieces that make DAO so great. It's called the Pi and the Psi. The average size of that piece is 16K. That's the only piece that changes on each platform you live on. The largest one we have, see, this is a shocker, it's for Windows.
Don't believe it.
No, don't believe it.
88K. 88K. As a developer, what happens is you write to a RISC 32-bit processor. That's what the operating system thinks it's running on. Then what happens is, depending upon whether you're on an OS or directly on the hardware itself, the Pi and the Psi are the only things we change. We are not emulating anything. Know that now. There's no emulation going on here. The Pi and the Psi translate to the binary code necessary to execute at binary speed. So the application thinks it's a 32-bit RISC processor. But underneath, if it's PowerPC we're running on, it is being translated immediately to its PPC. If it's x86, it's x86. So we're not emulating a chip, because what happens is we take that instruction set that we know from this top level, and it's translated immediately on the fly to its into this level. Does that make sense? Yes? Pardon? Backwards of the transmeta. Yeah. I guess that's one way to look at it. We said it looked like upside down Java to us. Because, in fact, with our system, we do have a JVM, but our JVM doesn't change because it's above the Pi and the Psi. So if you happen to write Java apps, you get the screaming performance because it's the same JVM no matter which platform we're on. So it's optimized at the Pi and the Psi level for quick execution. I'm really sorry I couldn't bring the cell phone with me. We only have 2 in the States, and both are in use right now. Next time I come over, I'll make sure I bring at least 1 or more of the cell phones we run on. But the Motorola phone, you can actually, on a 3 MIPS phone, you can actually do full motion video as far as playing a driving game. If you have a chance, if you've got some decent bandwidth, go out and check out, I think it's still zdtv.com. Paul Allen bought them, and now it's called Tech TV. But I was on Screensavers on our TV show, and they actually did a very nice job of having the host drive on the cell phone. And you can now look at the clip on the TV screen and see what it's like. Recently, in the States, PC Magazine has these editor days, and the one in Seattle was there, and it was fun because I got a chance to see a bunch of the old folks I hadn't seen in a long time. But basically, Dvorak, McCrone, Miller, 2 other editors, I call them Schmuck 1 and Schmuck 2. Nice guys, but they were junior editors. They all got a chance to play with the cell phone, play with the stuff we're doing here, and instantly fell in love with it and said, this is exactly what the world needs. Is not only competition, but an opportunity for developers to have a single platform to develop to, and for OEMs a single platform they can use with no change for themselves. Because in many cases, an OEM wants to use their own chip. There's a lot of manufacturers out there that really like PowerPC, but they currently have to use x86 because there isn't a choice. Now we can give them. All right, so how am I doing on time? We're okay? All right. Okay, let's open it up for questions. If I miss something afterwards, if I don't miss your question, I'm happy to sit down with you and talk to you about it. All right? Yes, sir.
Your risk too big.
On the risk? I have no clue. Thanks for asking. It's in the document. In fact, Jeff's got a manual out there, and he probably can tell you exactly what it is. I don't know. Okay? Yes?
Intel sort of tried really hard to make their processor faster by putting things like MMX instructions and stuff in it. Running on that 32-bit RISC OS, would it then somehow be able to make use of those processor extensions?
Yeah, if the processor has extensions to it, the kicker is we have to make sure that we expose proper APIs so that when the developer writes something, if it's there, we take advantage, but if it's not there, we don't like to just die. And so that's some of the stuff we're working on because we are dealing with a lot of those folks like Intel right now. You guys, by the way, you guys know Intel really isn't the enemy.
Oh, yeah,
Microsoft is.
I mean, do you know who they actually have money in? How many other OS companies do they have money in? And they don't have a dime in Microsoft. Go take a look at all the other operating systems that Intel has backed financially, including Red Hat, B. They put $25 million into B. For fun sometime, go to www.nasdaq.com, NASDAQ, right? Click on any one of the people like BIOS or INAP or any of the people, some of the people we track. Click on information quotes and then click on stock report because SEC regulations state they have to say how much they have in the bank, how much they're spending, how much they're going to lose. It's a lot of fun when you see how much money some of these guys are burning through. It's kind of fun trying to figure out where they're going to get it from next. But there's a lot of opportunity for us right now. There was a hand over here. Yes?
This might sound a little bit, it's a Microsoft word I want to bring up. But
That's fine.
Microsoft.net
Yes.
is reputed to also intend to use a virtual processor.
Yes.
I was just wondering, is it the case that we can eat their lunch, or are they going to come back with a reinvented Windows that's essentially going to be able to work in the same markets that Amiga is attempting to go for?
MS.NET is web-based. It's a web-based operating system, and that's how they're trying to handle their cross-platform portability. Okay. 2, they haven't written a line of code for it. CRN has an interview with Steve Ballmer, and it's pretty funny. Now, by the way, I'm not anti-Microsoft. I want you guys to know that. I have great respect for a company that runs itself by paranoia. I shared with some of you guys privately the other day. Do you guys know who Stuart Alsop is? Stuart Alsop was a syndicated columnist for many, many years. And back in the days, how many people remember when Microsoft was not #1 in any category? Right? It hasn't been that long. Okay? I was there for the Windows 3 launch, and Bill and I were chatting, and Melinda was there. We were talking back and forth. And Bill made a comment to me I thought was brilliant, because it never dawned on me. He said, I never knew how many people loved solitaire. There was no applications ready when that thing came out. You had graphical solitaire, and we didn't have Minesweeper back then. And yet people bought it, because it was visual. It was nice looking. Right? He also made a comment about having lots of money, but we won't go there. But the fact is that they do run themselves through paranoia. And Alsop asked him in those years, and he was #2 in word processor, he was #2 in spreadsheets. The only place he was #1 in was operating system. And Bill kept going on and on and on about how they're doing this, how they're doing that, how they're doing this, and they're improving this, making this better, the whole thing. And Stuart asked him, well, what happens when you are #1 in every category? Bill didn't have an answer because it never dawned on him that somebody else wasn't thinking the same way he was. You always have to be faster. You've always got to be better. You've always got to stay ahead. And they do it through fluff and smoke and mirrors and stuff like that, and make pre-announcements. We're not doing that. We're coming in very slowly behind them so they don't catch on. Because Bill made a comment that every day he watches because someday someone's going to pass him. And he's right. Okay? He's right. But the people we're talking to right now, the folks we're dealing with, you guys have never had a better opportunity. It's not because of anything we're doing, it's because of what you guys have allowed to happen. Without you, there would not be Amiga today. There would have been no asset for me to purchase. The applications you saw here today were written by the community, with the exception of photogenics. There's a whole lot of other ones on here. You guys can play with them later. But the MPEG player was written by the community. The little game you saw was written by the community. Okay? Every application that we're showing, with the exception of photogenics, is all written by you folks. There's not another operating system out there that can do this. And it's because of you that it happens. So to answer your question about ms.net, it's web-based. Yes, they have announced it. They've not written a line of code for it. And the gentleman who's supposed to manage it just quit. It's something we watch very closely. And I will tell you, our new VP of Engineering came from Microsoft. And he was the head of Java, he was the head of IE, and he was the head of their Transpoint system. I worked with him for years before that, and he's absolutely brilliant. He's focused on one thing, delivering product. He's a VP of Engineering that knows how to write code. I like those guys. Somebody else? Yes?
When did we know more information about compatibility with the classic that
Oh, that will be announced tonight. Are you going to be there tonight?
Yeah.
Nah, I forget you.
Just a quick question on server software and stuff like that. Is that in development?
Server software, we already run on servers. As far as applications that run on servers, there are some folks doing some things right now. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
The product sounds very similar to Java in terms of that it can run on, write once, run anywhere.
Yes.
What is the actual differences between AmigaDE and Java?
Well, from a technical perspective, JVM is required in every single different system, so it's a different JVM for each one. Therefore, you have performance inherent differences, right? I mean, if you run, for instance, there is no Java for Windows CE. We can provide one because we do. We run on Windows CE. Our difference is your binary in Java has to take. You have to know the JVM you're running on to take advantage, or should we say, take care for the disadvantage that JVM might cause you, because they all are different. They all perform differently. In our case, as a developer, the snippet that we change, because we do have our own JVM also, okay, the snippet we change is not, you as a developer do not need to worry about it. And it's the OS itself is inherent in every system, whereas they reside within a system. Okay? We are the OS on every single system. There's also some other differences, and because we had this question before, we're writing up a white paper right now on why you can use Java on our system and why it's better. Our performance is better. In fact, on the caffeine test, we're the only Java for Linux that ran all the tests and didn't crash. I think that's kind of important. Yes?
For all the different types of hardware that are out there, you're literally going to have to write virtual machine rather than just virtual code, virtual processor.
I didn't quite catch it. One more time.
Rather than just write a virtual processor to cope with all the different types of hardware, peripherals and whatnot out there, you might have to write a virtual machine rather than just a virtual processor code.
Well, the system we've got works really well. Works really well. And the RTOS itself, I mean, as a real-time operating system, it can be standalone or run hosted.
Like you might have different sound hardware on another machine.
Well, what you're talking about there is when you write with a native VP, all the sound and stuff's taken care of at the upper level. We take advantage of a card if it's there, but if not, it is all in software. So I think it's very similar to what you're talking about. You might just be saying it differently. Like Math Engine and Criterion, Renderware 3D, and OpenGL, all the stuff that's written in native code, that's all 100% transportable across everywhere. So you now have Criterion 3D on a handheld. You guys familiar with Renderware? PlayStation, Sega, Nintendo, they all use it. Anybody over here? Neil?
How well have you, the experience is the Amiga operating system communicating with its host system when it's running host? Can they communicate?
Yes, they can. They can pass information. The data is not the same because we are a separate operating system operating the environment. But behind the scenes, it's very smooth. As we're seeing here, it is a smooth transaction. There are some little tweaks here and there that we have to do. That's why the window one was 88K and this one is 16K. But yeah, we don't have a situation where the applications on one OS talk to the other OS. We don't have that yet. I don't know that we're going to.
Good question. Which version of Java?
It's PJava. PJava, which is really the consumer Java. There's another version of Java coming out now. I want to say it's version 3. I was meeting with Sun the other day. They have all these funky names for this stuff, and we're already ahead of the curve on that. So it's got some P2P stuff in it, which is really good. All right, one more question. Do I have time for that? I'm looking at you. Okay, one more. Yes.
What sort of developer tools do you have as far as compilers and developers?
Currently, we've got the free stuff out there, GCC and some others. Storm C is being ported right now, so you can use it in the environment. It's our first IDE. We have 2 others that are actually non-Amiga IDEs that are coming on our way. But we don't have those deals signed yet on one of these, and until it's signed and ready, I don't want to talk about it. I mean, the reality is, guys, that from 1997 to 1999, in case you weren't aware, there were 12 different product announcements. Did you notice you didn't get any of them? Little tidbit, MCC never existed. We didn't know that. When we bought Amiga, we were all excited we were going to get like this new cool motherboard. Those of you who have a chance, go back to the old slideshow. And those of you who know hardware, take a good look at that slide. 6 of those chips never existed. There's bridges and buses and hooks that physically can't occur. I was really disappointed in that. I'm not a hardware person, and I kind of took all that stuff for granted. I wasn't part of that decision process. Jim and I only saw each other 3 times. All the time I was there. I stayed in Washington, he stayed in California. So I wasn't aware of what was going on down there. In fact, I would normally learn what I was supposed to do by reading the website. Bill has just been put in charge of, but out of all those announcements, the one that frustrated me the most was in March of 1997, right after Gateway bought it. There was an announcement made, and I bring this up because I hope you understand why we're not pre-announcing stuff. But there was an announcement made that XYZ company was building new multi-processor PPC machines for Amiga. The first one had 2 processors, the next one had 4. Everyone was all excited. It was like $1,500 for a dual processor machine. And it wasn't until I began to ask some questions like, well, does the OS run on PowerPC? Well, no. Okay. Does the OS support multiprocessors? No. Great. So you've announced a product that there's no possibility we can run on within the timeline you're talking about. And my answer was yes, but it got the community happy. Well, we're not going to do that. And I know that frustrates a lot of folks who love for me to tell you exactly what's going on, who we're talking to, who we're dealing with. But it's not going to do any of you any good for me to make some announcement and have it crash and burn on us. Okay? I will tell you the first product out the door will be from MeterNet. This will be out at Christmas time. Price will be about $300. That's US, sorry. And that doesn't have a hard drive in it. That's more of one of these network type appliance boxes. But if you have friends that are looking just to get on the net or do email or something like that, this would be a nice alternative for them. That is AmigaDE running on this box. That'll be the first one, and then and then tonight you guys will get the announcements on the other products coming down the line.
What kind of time frame are you looking at for when we get to this point where you'll have Macs and PCs and Amigas all with a consumer version of the Amiga?
You'll have more on tonight, but I mean, the reality is that we've been at it for 10 months, and you'll have 2 versions of the SDK. Oh, by the way, I made one mistake before I forget, and we'll have our AWeb meeting. On the executive update, I said we had the CoAN sound engine. I think I even said math engine in the Criterion in this next build. I was wrong. This next build that ships on the 24th is an upgrade to the Linux and the Windows version. The next version, 1.2, which is out about 4 weeks later, has the CoAN, the SEO, and the sound and the other 3D components. So my apologies on that. But that's also part of the delay is that's where a lot of the consumer API layers are for the UI.
So both on the one CD,
Pardon?
both the Linux version. And
no, we're selling them separately.
Yeah.
You can certainly, once you have one, you can download the other. But on the Linux CD, we've had so many complaints with the installation procedure because there's so much that Linux has to detect. But in the Linux version, we now have a pre-configured version of Linux on it also. So you literally pop it in a clean machine, it handles everything for you. You don't have to do anything. Just pop it in, answer 3 questions, and you're done. As opposed to having to go through the steps you have to go through now. Technically, we can do either. But for this build, we're trying to take care of some of the Linux issues that we had. So off it goes. So the disk is full because of all that.
They supply with every application.
Everything you saw here, you get on the CD. Except for photogenics. That doesn't.
Anytime you sell an application, they do use with it.
Yes. No, pardon me. To answer your question, I'm sorry. His question was, anytime you sell an application, DE goes with it. That's up to the developer. They can select to do that. And actually, we see a lot of people, like you saw on the floppy disk. You could create a game. In fact, we have one company that's doing that. An Amiga company is now moving all their games, which they've licensed from others, to DE, so that they can ship a single CD. If you've got Windows, you can run it. If you have Linux, you can run it. If you have an Amiga machine, you can run it. So that's their choice. They can certainly do that. And our hope is that we'll get a lot of other, so we call it, AAA game title companies we're working with will use that also. So they'll just make everything AmigaDE and automatically run everywhere. Okay? All right, one more time.
What sort of performance loss do you get running between native and hosted?
Native is about 40% faster. We don't have the overhead. But as you saw here, it's not anything too terrible because it is so small. I want to thank everybody for your time coming. Hopefully when I come to Australia next time, I'll get to spend more time with you. I've got to go back tomorrow morning, so I got here Friday morning, go back tomorrow morning. But next week's a real busy week for us, so hopefully we'll get some more announcements and get some deals closed up next week. More importantly, my thanks to all of you for taking the time to come here, to hear what I have to say, and thanks so much for not only keeping Amiga alive, but supporting it onwards. And by the way, all your friends who, quote, were using Amiga or were part of the user group, just call them up and say, Nina, Nina, Nina. Because they're going to be part of it. Thank you.
Right. Welcome to this forum, which we have called the Amiga User Group in the Changed Amiga Environment. As we've just heard, it is certainly a changed environment and a very exciting one. This has been convened at the request of the Amiga Down Under User Group, or ADUG, and with the kind permission of the ACE 2000 organisers, whom we thank. We wish to consider the future prospects and the possible future directions of Amiga user groups in general, and Amiga user groups in the Australasian region in particular. So the format we've decided is to start with a short introduction. This will be followed by a response by our keynote speaker, Bill, who's probably quite hoarse by now.
Oh, no.
And after which the meeting will be thrown open for comments and questions from user groups or from individual users. But first, I would like to call on ADUG's president, Steve Kennedy, who is currently, I think, president of CAUSE, yes, as well, the Canberra group, to officially welcome our keynote speaker, Phil McEwan, and present him with ADUG's Certificate of Patronage, a position he has generously accepted.
Thanks, Basil. Hi, Steve Kennedy.
Wait a minute. President Kennedy?
President Kennedy. yes, I won't go into that joke.
Where's Oswald? Don't travel around in an open car.
No. All fly. Anyway, on behalf of all the users that are here and Australia-wide, it's great to see you here.
Thanks.
And see the information you have for us, which is really, really, really wonderful. I mean, there hasn't been, a lot of people have been saying that nothing much has been happening. But
good, it worked.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's great to see that you've taken the time to come and say, hey, this is what's happening. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks. Pleasure.
All right. Here's your certificate.
Yep.
For those who want a photo shoot. There it is.
Oh, there's correct. Yeah, I do this right now. Can I have the hand?
Yep. All right.
Did you just say beauty?
Yeah. Beauty. Australian saying.
Beauty butler, mate.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll leave it back to Basil, and I'll come up in a little bit.
Great.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
We hope that will be a reminder to you of your trip to Australia.
Absolutely. That and Kuala.
So why do we form user groups? It's because it allows people with a common interest to get together to discuss, explore, and most importantly, to enjoy their common interest. Now the Amiga, or the classic Amiga, as it is now referred to, was an outstanding example of an enjoyable interest. So it's not surprising that Amiga user groups flourished and that singular phenomenon, the Amiga community, was born. But that was the exciting 80s. That was then. This is now. And this could well be an alternative title of our forum and the reason for this forum. The Amiga community, and with it Amiga user groups, has hemorrhaged badly, especially in this part of the world. And even those who are fortunate enough to live in an Australasian capital city are feeling the effects of the Amiga's long years in limbo. For example, where are the major Amiga user groups which once flourished in Sydney, in Brisbane, or in Adelaide? While the Amiga user group of Western Australia has just voted to go into a hold mode, suspending meetings and all but essential activities for the coming year while it ponders its future. While it ponders, along with the rest of us, questions such as, do Amiga user groups need to change? What should Amiga user groups now offer? Whom should Amiga user groups cater for? What will members of the new Amiga community want? And how does Amiga Incorporated view Amiga user groups? Fortunately, after so many false starts, the Amiga now seems to have finally found a saviour in the form of Bill McEwan and his team. And it is a privilege to have you here today, Bill, as the architect of that salvation. But as I said earlier, this is a new era, a new millennium, and as we learned this earlier today, we no longer speak of an Amiga OS. In this digital age, we have the Amiga DE. Now, in his executive update of the 28th of September, Bill enthuses about the Amiga digital environment business opportunities. So we know that the prospects for developers, Amiga developers, and other professionals associated with the changed Amiga environment appear very bright. But what of the users? What are the prospects for them and for their user groups? It would appear that they also look good. And the clue lies in that very same executive update. For near the end of that update, Bill says, we are meeting directly with the heads of some of the largest computer and consumer electronics companies in the world. And not only do they see the value in what we are offering, but they see where the Amiga community, you, and that must surely include the users and user groups, is the real value. I now have great pleasure in inviting Bill McEwan to respond to the question, how do you and Amiga Incorporated see the Amiga user group in the changed Amiga environment?
Thanks, Roger.
Thanks, Basil.
First off, I mean it honestly when I say without you guys there would have been nothing to buy. I mean, because it would have been a name, and that's not as valuable as a community. As far as the user groups today, I think that the damage has been so severe because not only were there false hopes and false promises made over the years, but they were never followed up with a correction. I remember the infamous Joe Torre article that came out that said PowerPC is the chip. Right? It was never the chip, according to what Joe Torre knew at the time. Joe didn't do anything wrong, but somebody should have corrected that. Somebody should have come out immediately and said, wait, no, that's not the case. But instead, they let it go for 6 months. And then at the World of Amiga, it's announced, oh no, we're not doing that, we're doing this. That's extremely damaging. And you guys see it in the dwindling numbers in your groups. The user group environment is something that is dwindling not only within Amiga, but in other communities also. The internet has taken away that personal contact. In many ways, we've done this to ourselves by creating virtual communities as opposed to the interaction of individuals. At Amiga, we think that there's incredible value within a physical meeting or a body of people, because at that point in time, exchange of ideas, exchange of thoughts, worries, queries, etc., can all take place in a face-to-face environment. And our hope is that you guys will be able to go out and begin to foster that again with some of the members that haven't come back. With some of the things you've seen today to show that it's far from over. That it's really just a new beginning. We are hiring a person that is dedicated in one purpose, and that is user groups. That's all this person's life, goal, etc. is. And their job is to keep new information coming to you, to keep new activities going on, to help foster new additions. At the same token, any new product that Amiga ships, there will be a contact area that will encourage them to go so that they can put in their location to find the nearest user group. We think it's important that while the internet is a great opportunity, that face-to-face interaction still takes place. In the States alone, user group communities are dwindling on every single platform, not just Amiga. And we as a company recognize that there's real value in just what I'm seeing here today. And at the same token, we can get other people from Linux, from B, coming and joining us because the new Amiga embraces all those technologies. We can bring them together and become a single focal point for all of them. I bring it back to you to let me know what we can do best to help. Now, we're not a charity organization. I'm not going to be writing checks all over the place because I don't think that actually helps in the long run. That's Band-Aid. What we need to do is learn what we can do from you and from your experiences as to how we can. Is it more information that's necessary? What can we do to help foster that? Part of the thing we're doing with our OEM partners is this communication so that anytime you buy a new Amiga device, there's a place to go to find out where a community group is meeting that you can be a part of. So I'm going to bring it back to you folks. Those of you who don't have my card, it's here on the table. Please take it. My email is there, and I do answer almost every single email message. I'm not going to say all of them because some of them are just plain daft. But for the most part, we answer all of them, and we're interested in knowing what you think. I appreciate what Basil and Steve and Greg and those of you guys back in the members of the user groups in keeping it fostered and keeping it going. I know, do you guys also have the Special Olympics down here? Amiga has been invited by the Special Olympics World Organization to participate in every Special Olympics event around the globe. The Atlanta Amiga Users Group has now the largest pavilion at the Atlanta Special Olympic Games. In fact, they asked IBM to leave because of how good the response was from Amiga. And this is something the user group has done down there. And it's an opportunity that's just one place that even your user groups here can help participate in. And the Special Olympics supplies everything but the computers and the people to come help out. But it's a great way to open up to the community. In Seattle, we sponsor local sports kids teams. So we have a bunch of little kids running around with Amiga shirts on. That costs us $100 to do that. But it's already, the idea is we're very community-centric, and we would like to foster and create ideas. These are just two ideas that we've come up with, one from Atlanta, one from us locally. I'm sure you guys have got ideas here too. Let's start sharing them together. Let's get these user groups working together to find out how best to support one another. My fear is, over time, we've reached a situation where a lot of user groups are now trying to be competitive with one another, trying to compete. to rescue the few remaining bodies, if you will. I don't know if that's the same down here. I know it's certainly that way in the States. But our hope is, in working directly with you folks and with our new hire, that we'll be able to foster, once again, the one-on-one relationships. So with that, do you have any questions for me? Yeah.
It seems to me with the possibility of having applications on all sorts of devices, from mobile phones, handheld computers, refrigerators, cars and so on, all that, there's so much possibility. But the idea of a computer system user group is going to have to change and evolve, because the uses to which the group is going to be put in places that we're going to see it are going to be completely different. I mean, when you hand out warranty cards with a mobile phone, you hand out a user group application form. Sure. How are we going to address those other sorts of users, and will those users have a need for a user group?
Well, I think that you're answering your question in itself. Certain applications won't require it, but in the desktop environment, especially, it's still needed. It's still in help desks. Local help is still needed. And as these cell phones become more and more complex, not because of what we're doing, but all the new added features, I tell you what it does, it drives them to buy other Amiga-enabled devices. So remember, the idea is that there's a multitude of different devices that all work in concert with one another. So while the cell phone itself, as a standalone, will be great and wonderful, and that's all they may never buy, the idea is we create such an environment that they'll want to go out and buy now a set-top box. And from there, their next replacement computer is an Amiga. And so bit by bit, we win these people over as part of the community. And we want to make them feel like they're part of a family. That's truly what we're trying to do. You guys are already members of that family. What we want to try to do is help them do it. So does that mean that every cell phone member will come? No. But I'll tell you, it'll sure be nice to know for them that there is a place if they're just even curious. Because what will probably happen, you guys will be talking about the high-end stuff we're doing. It's very possible they have no idea we've got a quad processor, really cool home server that also polishes your shoes. And it's a fine espresso also. And that's the type of thing we want to foster. It's the idea of, each one of you guys know at least two people that share some interest in what you're doing here. I know it. And they know a couple of people. And it's just the idea of sharing that information. And pretty soon they'll go out and they'll buy something because they heard about it or they remember it. Or, one thing that was interesting, I saw the other day, I think it was in Oregon, they started a campaign of once a month letters to the editor of their local paper. They just grab a topic and talk about how Amiga affects it or what they can do on it. And pretty soon they begin to wonder, well, wait, what's going on with this? I didn't know they did television. I didn't know they was used in TV. I didn't know it was used in cable. Because most people writing that stuff today really don't know that. And so it's just a way to introduce them also into the Amiga family.
So how prominent is the Amiga name going to be in some of those other devices? Are you going to see the logo?
Oh yeah, you'll see the logo everywhere. The logo is part of it. The Boing Ball is the trademark, and that's what you'll see on our device. Anytime you see a Boing Ball, that's an Amiga-enabled device, and it will work with other Boing Ball-enabled devices. You also see that on packaged software, on other goods, etc. So that's the mark to be looking for. The Amiga name will become secondary in the trademark issue. It's the Boing Ball we want to make sure is prominent, so that anywhere you see that, you know that device will work with another Amiga device. Other question?
With this hire,
yes,
and as you said, the person's going to be travelling around. That's obviously worldwide. So if we say we've heard about it, and we email the person and say, look, we'd like you to come over to Australia, second Thursday of the month, which is our meeting, the course meeting, we'd like to hear about the new product that may have come out at the time. Are you able to come, or are you able to schedule us so we can advertise it? I know that around Canberra, there are quite a few. When we put up a stand at the local computer fair, right, we always get people coming up and saying, I used to have one.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there's still guys out there that say, yeah, but we use it on our PC through Amiga Forever or McEwan or whatever.
Can I just make a comment there?
Sure, Ben.
In Armidale, there are at least 7 people now who are in professional ITs, and they were all 7- and 8-year-old kids in the Armidale Amiga user group. suddenly start.
Sure. To come back to your question, there's two things there. One, we have an individual who's focused on user groups. That doesn't mean they're the person that will tour. Myself, Fleecy's now in the UK. Randy, we've got some other members of the team joining on. They will also be part of the process of coming out and visiting with user groups. The idea is that the user group coordinator will schedule everything so there's a good flow of information and we are down here more often. At the same token, within each continent, and in some cases each country, we're looking for a single individual that we will be hiring as our evangelist within that country. So they will also be on the Amiga payroll, but they are an individual that's local here that you can talk to. It's a direct pipe back to us. We've got somebody picked for Italy, we've got somebody picked for Germany, we've got a guy in the US. What was that, Craig? And so we're going down, and a lot of it's coming from input from other third parties. And what we're doing is, that's another area that we're going to use as part of our evangelistic efforts. You get somebody locally that is an Amiga representative, corporate representative, so that you get tighter contact with those individuals. And since they are an employee of Amiga, either full-time or part-time, depending on the role they play, we're hoping that will also be a better way to get quicker information. Right now it's 10:30 for me on Friday. And that's a reality that didn't hit till I was here. In order to get information down to you folks, I mean, there's an 18-hour time difference. Where I'm at, where it says here, you get it 18 hours sooner.
That person have a name yet?
Yes, they do. I can't announce it yet. We've already signed them up. You guys want to stay that spread out? You guys want to get closer together? Stay like you are. Fine, stay like you are.
In regards to if you look at when you release the machines and that, like the national user group, if we come together and say, right, we want to buy X number of machines, is there going to be an advantage for user groups specifically?
There's going to be a lot of advantage for user groups. The way I don't know if you guys remember, way back when, user groups always got first dibs on everything. They also received special pricing. There was benefit to being part of a user group. We're going to instigate many of the exact same things. You'll get first dibs, first cracks. There'll be special discount pricing for user group members. Starting end of the month, there's a whole new line of Amiga paraphernalia. This is one of the new shirts. We've got luggage. There's all kinds of stuff that will be made available to you folks at cost. And our hope is that what will happen is that the user groups will want to be part of that, and also as a way to make money. Yes?
Is that the promotional pack that you were advertising on the website?
Promotional pack?
Yeah, they asked us to email in if we wanted a promotional pack of Amiga material at minimal cost.
No, that's something different. That was specific for a tour that we've got coming up. We've had to delay the tour just a bit, but that was specifically to that. And that was a whole bunch of posters and things like that you can use around your community. Now, this is different. This is a whole new line, new look, if you will, of different items. Pens, basketballs, soccer balls. My 5-year-old describes the marketing genius. Every time I turn around, he comes up with another one. We're doing Amiga antenna balls for your car antennas, etc. And again, we're doing that all at cost. We're not making money on these items. But we want people to begin seeing the logo out there. We want them to begin questioning, hey, I remember that. Or we want them to start, kind of, if you will, it's a fire. We want to start the fire and then start getting it going until it becomes a blaze. And then it'll start to overcome and overwhelm. Yes?
One of the things that local groups or users want is a local printed magazine. What's the prospects of that?
Well, we did that with Amiga World. That's a PDF file you can download and print to your heart's content. And that's all original content that you can do. As far as having a third-party publisher do that, I don't know who your main publishers are down here. We're trying to get one back up in the States. As part of working with Ziff Davis and IDG and some other folks about resurrecting the publication in the States. a little bit's cart before the horse. I mean, we're not quite there yet. And part of what we're doing, we're trying to stay a little bit quiet. We don't want everyone to know what we're doing. We're trying not to make it very public. And we don't share with people the companies we're dealing with. Simply because I don't want to show up on somebody's radar screen too early in the process. And if anything were to go wrong along the way, it'll be deemed instant failure for Amiga again. I mean, if for some reason we start using some new chip from some new company, and that company is delayed a year, we've never seen that happen before, it'll be deemed that Amiga failed. And that's not going to help any of us. You guys have any comments besides questions? I mean, how are you feeling overall?
Well, I'm personally, because we actually ran the show last year.
Right.
Here in Australia, and
yeah.
Seeing you here and actually getting a word from the horse is good to hear instead of reading it on a page or anything like that. As you said, you're trying to become more community-centric. It's just good. I know it's a flying visit. Maybe next time you'll be able to maybe see some of the user groups, time it, whatever, and catch up with them and actually have them there.
Right.
So they can hear what's going on. And I'm pleased at actually seeing a demo and saying, yes, the operating system is actually there.
And it works, yes.
Yeah.
Well, what are you guys feeling? Oh, great, more delays?
I just wish you would ride that bike.
I say yes, right, the free spirit.
Actually, you wouldn't believe all the documents I had to sign to get that bike. But, there's a lot of things I'm not allowed to do on the motorcycle. In order just to ride. You don't like bikes?
No, I don't mind it.
Oh, okay.
I just
well, the good news is, if I die, we're extremely profitable. The life is huge. I'm worth more dead than alive at this point. In fact, there's a little bit too much humor about that at the office right now. Oh, how fast did you go today? You like riding it in the rain?